Hi there, it's 16th of June 2023. My name's Daz Smith and I'm just about to do a whiteboard session for the Hellfire group for a blind target called 8851. I have no idea what this is, but I've been asked to go back to my first RV session. I did roughly 3 or 4 on this, and to write down some of the parts and the gestures I had of this down on a whiteboard for you. So let's get straight to it. One of the main gestures I had on this was 8851. I had this weird downwards movement. Feels like it's an object, and it feels like it's moving through space and air. So there's space, there's air, and it's moving downwards in a trajectory from above, and it's moving below. This object itself feels like it's moving downwards, but it also feels like it made kind of almost like course corrections. But these course corrections do not feel like this. They don't feel like that. They feel more kind of weirdly S-like or fluid in these in these corrections, in these downward movements. And they're not also downwards. They almost feel like they curve back on themselves in some way as well. So very strange, manipulated kind of movement here. It feels like it's tracked, manipulated or monitored from an outside location. So it feels like an object, feels very structural, very spherical, round-like, shiny, moving fastly downwards in a trajectory which is manipulated and moved, which is hence these curve-like motions, but not erratically drastic movements, very kind of like flowing in its movements. And again, this feels like it's kind of watched from far away over here in space and distance, almost remotely, like it's, yeah, I've got a camera on it and in some kind of like satellite type of action. So this is watched and monitored. Monitored's a good word for this. So yeah, an object in a downwards trajectory which is fluid, but moving towards a surface from above. So what I'll do now is I'll get rid of this and wipe this off and get to the second part of this. Okay, so the second part of this feels like it's reaching a ground level area. So it feels like there's a land surface area here. And, you know, this is going to be my crude attempt here to draw trees, greenery and forest. So imagine this is like huge amounts of forest, you know, it's a side view of a land interface here. It feels very green, very luscious, very humid, very remote. So remote, natural land surface here. As I said, very green, humid. I don't feel any man-made structures or life anywhere in the vicinity of this target. It really does feel very sparse, very natural. And I feel that this is a past event. And we had this object, this thing which kind of does this course change once or twice, and it's going to impact with the land here. This causes a huge energy event, a huge energy spike, event, kind of explosion, kind of transmission, and a throw out of energy and debris. So we'll try to draw that one next. So we're going to try to draw the energy in, and that has 2 parts for me. There has a before, instantaneously before, we're talking microseconds here. We have this energy thing that I keep seeing, and I sketched it on paper. So bear in mind when I try to draw it here for you guys here. We have these sparkly kind of like pulsating cores of energy here. Very energetic, very alive, very kind of vibrant, emitting energy, all kinds of weird stuff here. And there are several of these. Like sparkles of energy, really compact sparkles of energy, but these feel like they're connected in some kind of, almost like they're chained in some kind of weird way, using kind of electricity and particles and stuff in some kind of weird kind of chain sequence or circuit here. So they're all connected by this chained kind of rhythmic vibrating energy, kind of almost electric energy. And then it almost feels, actually this almost feels like a detonation, maybe at ground level or slightly above ground, because what I feel happens is, you know, from this chain thing, from the core of it here, an explosion starts, which moves outwards. Maybe this is dynamics of what's happening with the explosion. Maybe it's some kind of drive system or engine or something. But it's very exotic. This is very exotic. I haven't seen anything like this. I don't know what this is. I can't work out what this is. Very super condensed, super tight, heavy, kind of exotic. But yeah, so like a ring of strange kind of like particles that explodes outwards, and, you know, affects and all these in some kind of like chain reaction, and these are chained up in some kind of very strange way using technology and particles and waves. This feels very wave-like. Yeah, so this is connected all very wave-like. So this explodes. There's an energy thing here. So this is like microseconds before. There's this kind of explosive kind of event, almost like a trigger. And then we have the larger event itself. So we have the land. Oh, let me try to dry this a bit better. So yeah, we have the explosive, the primary explosive event itself. So we have a land level here, and it has all these structures on it. And the structures themselves are natural, so they're like trees, lots of vegetation, very green, very luscious, very much like a rainforest feel, but in the past. So we have all this luscious vegetation here. I'm trying to minimize it here. We have this kind of like pathway kind of thing like this, object kind of thing here, and as it impacts, it's almost like as it impacts or very slightly above ground, we have this huge massive explosive event, and this pushes and moves and devastates the vegetation in the air. Not only that, it does cause a crater in the land, but this feels like it's mushy, and it feels like it fills with water maybe. It feels very mushy, kind of soily, kind of sandy, but not at the time, you know, afterwards. It's almost like water pulls out and then comes back into it or something. Very strange. So we had this explosion event, and there are all these particles and waves that move outwards, and as it moves outwards, it literally does devastate the local environment. You know, the trees that were once up now become more vertical. They fan out and they kind of like toppled outwards. The ones from the core here, right in the middle, they kind of almost like they catch fire, they burn, they're parched, they're crumbled, you know, they're split even. Huge devastation here in near the crater area. But yeah, the vegetation itself fans outwards, and so you can actually see lots of vegetation that have been destroyed, maybe by the shockwaves, because this whole thing, and I can probably do that in a different colour actually, expels shockwaves. So we have these shockwaves that come out from the core, you know, they move outwards like this, and they go for hundreds of miles. You know, you can pick them up 100 miles away. So you have this core of energy that moves and blasts out in all directions, and it's like wind but light. It's energy. There's debris from the vegetation and from the land, but it also feels like there's debris from the explosive nature itself, which goes out. And I keep getting the word particles or particulates as being important with this one. It's almost like there are particles that are embedded in the environment. Yeah, so a huge impact with lots of heat, lots of energy, lots of destruction, lots of noise, energy moving in every direction, lots of destruction, pushing, pushing vegetation. It feels like pushing vegetation. It feels like, you know, there's a resistance there between vegetation, moving outwards. So let's get rid of this page and we'll move on to some more data. So we had this event. It feels like it's in the past. It feels like, as we said, that an object is coming down from above at a very strange trajectory. It feels like it's manipulated in the trajectory. It feels like it's also watched from a distance, a vast distance away as well. So this does feel like it's probably some kind of man-made object for this, but very much in the past. You know, it feels very deep in the past. It meets a very natural location, and I'm going to do that in different colors here now. So there's a natural location here. This is signifying all the greenery here. Yeah, lots of green, lots of vegetation here all over the place. Fantastic. And, you know, as I said, very much like a rainforest. Very kind of humid, luscious, very remote. No humans around. I can't feel any humans. And then we have this energy event here. Huge kind of explosion, as I said, but this kind of comes from a trajectory. It feels like it makes a couple of course changes. It's an object that hits. We had this great explosive kind of almost like nuclear kind of feel to this. It does feel nuclear. It does feel like there's debris. So there's debris, but some of this is natural. So it's the land itself. You know, the fibers from the wood, the earth, the air, the stones, all that kind of stuff. But there's other debris as well. And this feels like it's from the explosion itself. And this feels like it's like heavy metals. And it feels like it's like zinc, iron, magnesium kind of feeling. But not only that, there are other things as well. It feels like there are other particles. You know, these are very small particles. Explode outwards. There feels like there's a radiation, but this is not radioactive. I don't know how that is. It's not like damaging you. I don't feel that there's a huge mushroom cloud that comes from this. There is a cloud of debris, but it's not a mushroom cloud as such. It's more dust and particulates, both from the land itself and from the explosive matter that was in that kind of, you know, that weird ring thing I had with these energy centers. That feels like there's particulates from that get dispersed into the land and stuff. So there's radiation there, but there's also heavy metals and stuff, but it also feels like there's other stuff like, it feels more natural. Like, I'm going to say proteins and enzymes. It feels like, you know, very basic kind of like building blocks of nature kind of feel to this. Very life kind of feeling to it. But yeah, very, very basic, like proteins, enzymes, almost like amoeba type stuff. Very basic life. Mixed up with like heavy metals, you know, zinc, iron, lots of other stuff as well, and chemicals. They're like basic chemicals. And again, there's this energy, a radiation kind of energy, but it doesn't feel damaging. It feels almost like it enhances all this in some way, instead of damaging it. And I have to do an AOL here because it almost feels like this would happen if you were like terraforming a planet or something. And it almost feels like a life bomb or something. It feels like an explosive device purposely exploded or detonated on a land surface to spread and infiltrate with these metals, these chemicals, this radiation that's happening, and these proteins and enzymes, almost like these are seeded. Oh, that's a good word, seeded. This feels like it's seeded into an environment. So there is a damaged environment, but it also feels like this kind of stuff is also seeded in the environment. So you'll actually find all this kind of stuff in the water. It's almost like I can feel it go into the groundwater below ground and spread outwards. You can feel I can see or feel the particulate nature of this embedded in the local vegetation, the trees, the plants, the life itself. It's almost like it's teeming with this strange kind of exotic mix of energy, chemicals, radiation, and whatever these proteins and enzymes are. Again, it feels like it's almost like, you know, it's some kind of weird exotic kind of explosive kind of mechanism that dispersed all this into the local environment. So not only has it damaged the environment, you know, because it created this huge big kind of like dip-like crater in the land there for a while, expelling all this stuff and destroying all these plants by, you know, making them fall over and burn, all kinds of damage. It had all this kind of effect as well, and this kind of effect feels more long-term over time. After effects. So this is after effects. I can't even write it. After effects. Yes. So the after effects of this is the saturation of metals, of these chemicals, magnesium, iron, zinc, that kind of thing. Very exotic stuff, but mixed in with proteins and enzymes, and also some kind of weird exotic radiation type effect. Gamma or something. Oh, gamma. I'm going to put gamma. Gamma seems... I don't know what that would do. I don't know enough about radiation. Something like a gamma type radiation, not a normal kind of like destructive radiation, although I don't even know the difference. I'm just throwing these words out to you as they come to me. So in summary, an object that's up in space, high in the atmosphere, high above in the air, moves down in a trajectory that doesn't feel natural. It feels manipulated, feels like it's tracked, feels like it's watched. This feels like it's purposely watched. It feels like a man-made structure which is spherical in nature, which then explodes very near to or actually in the land itself, causing huge amounts of damage and a crater. The land itself is a natural location, very green, very luscious, humid, very remote. I can't see or feel any life anywhere. This feels like a past target, maybe even a long time in the past, because I can't see or feel any life in the structures. This causes shock waves around, you know, around the local area, probably hundreds of miles. Lots of noise, lots of destruction, lots of energy release. The energy release itself feels a bit more that it's something to do with the hit, but also triggered. It almost feels like there was this weird exotic energy system inside this sphere thing, maybe like a drive or something, I don't know. It's very exotic, very dense, and very alive in the way it worked. Yeah, I can't quite work on what that was, but maybe that whole thing explodes, seeding not only destroying the area with natural damage, you know, the trees, the vegetation all moving down, the debris in the air, but also infecting the local environment with some very strange radiation, which doesn't feel like it's nuclear radiation, but it feels like some kind of radiation. And these exotic metals is not exotic, but you know, there's a density of metals and other chemicals here, zinc, iron, magnesium and stuff, and also some proteins and enzymes and stuff. So it feels like there's a natural component to this, almost like it was intentionally seeded or intentionally blown up and destroyed in this area in some way. So that's pretty much my data on this one. As I said, it's a Hellfire target. It's 8851. I'm blind to it at this stage. This is my remote viewing session done on whiteboard. I've done I think 3 or 4 paper RV sessions. So I can't wait for the feedback on this. I hope you enjoy the data. Take care. Namaste. See you next time.